So let's take a look at what the psyche perceives as conflict shocks that each organ can respond to. If sometimes you feel skipped heavy beats at night, it's a healing phase of an overwhelmed conflict by a person, and this is usually fielded by the myocardium, the heart muscle. And usually it's somebody who has too high standards. Could be mom and dad and a coach in childhood, or could be all of the above. A heart attack is a male tribute and it lands on the coronary arteries. It's a sort of self-devaluation, but the biological conflict is a territory loss for a man. His wife, his children, his job, his stature, a territory or property, anything that gives him value as a man. When he loses it, he becomes a second wolf. If the conflict is active for more than 9 months, it will resolve as a fatal heart attack. If 6 months, there might be chest pains, but it won't be fatal. And we know the real cause of a heart attack is psychobiological. Women are protected from heart attacks by estrogen, as they are considered more biologically valuable since they carry life. An attack to the heart might be a scalpel during open heart surgery and the thought of being sliced open. It could also be an actual blow that landed on the heart area. For this, the pericardium steps up to the plate. Fatty liver is not due to eating too much fat, but rather repeated issues with money or financial woes. This is a starvation conflict. When we were single-celled, it was all about the food morsel. But now that we are modern and we are highly advanced, morsel is not just food, but actually money. If we don't have enough money, we can't put food on the table. This is the reason that a lot of people have liver issues. No, it is not from drinking or from eating too much fat. It's because a lot of people have financial woes. But it can also be brought on by too much dieting or refraining from eating favorite food because it's bad for me. Fasting might trigger it because it gives a signal of starvation or not having enough food. Liver cirrhosis is repeated scarring from conflict relapses related to a territorial anger or anger around territory taken from me, and it keeps happening and it costs me a lot of money. Like a tenant who doesn't want to leave and, is not paying rent, and it's causing me to have a starvation conflict. So 50% of people with this can develop ascites, which is part of an abandonment or existence conflict. And usually it can happen with a diagnosis of liver cirrhosis, since it is believed by the patients not to be a good prognosis. And the kidney usually fields existence conflicts, like I am no longer going to be living long enough, or I'm going to die, but not today, but I might in 6 months because I don't have money. And that brings us to the kidney. For kidneys, it's about water retention, high urea, and creatinine. And this goes back all the way to the primordial sea. People will feel bloated and feel like they gained weight in a short amount of time and can't seem to lose it. It's the body protecting you from your life situation of being abandoned and in danger by providing water and protein. Many people who are overweight have this conflict, but even skinny people can experience this conflict and not necessarily gain weight. I have a friend who was kicked out of her house by her mother-in-law, and she was on kidney dialysis for years. Now the lungs, when we look at lungs, lungs are life. Why? Because 2 minutes without air, you're dead. So therefore, air to the body, to the biology, is life. I had a friend who believed he would pass away at 50 because his dad died at 50. And this friend was only 42, and he was very afraid of death and was just expecting his whole life that it would end at 50. So he already had a fear of death. During the pandemic, he got COVID, and it triggered a fear of death. He got an X-ray and was told that he had lung cancer. His fear of death doubled, tripled, quadrupled with a cancer diagnosis, giving him more lung lesions. And the reason that we have lung lesions is because the body wants to create little lungs to get you more air. So that's what it is, an air morsel. So of course the tumors kept growing and it was a looping conflict and it never had a good end. The fear of death is felt by so many, whether or not you smoke. And it can also be a substitute conflict where you feel the fear of death for a child or loved one who is sick. And we can tell if you have 1 or 2 nodules, the fear of death is over 1 or 2 people. But if there are many, many nodules, that fear of death is for oneself. When we feel bloated or gassy or constipated, there's usually an indigestible anger going on. As unicellular organisms, we could only muster up the gall from this organ whenever food was being taken from us, or if we had to fight another, because this is where we get our gall. So this is usually where we muster up anger. We gather our energy from our digestive organs, as this is where we get our juice. So this could be anger, resentment, life situations you can't accept or stomach. Like, oh, dad showed up with another family and he has kids that he needs to support. So it's a life situation you can't accept, makes you angry. And this is fielded by our digestive organs, since they are in charge of breaking down morsels. If you experience nausea, this is the healing phase, as is diarrhea. Though with diarrhea, there is some sort of starvation element of not being allowed or not eating a particular food, or maybe even not being able to put food on the table. I have consultees who were wrongly jailed for 15 years and has colon cancer. This is an unjust accusation. Also, another whose property is being encroached upon by illegal residents and refused to leave. Also, another whose property is being encroached upon by illegal residents and refused to leave. There's also another whose wife left him for another man, and ugly divorce battles ensued. Every time you have bone, joint pain like arthritis, gout, lumbar pain, knee pain, foot pain, elbow pain, these are all in the healing phase of the bone program. The body osteolizes our bones with the intent to replace them with stronger material, much like you would do with an old sofa that has its frame eaten out by termites. You would take it down and replace it with a stronger frame. However, it hurts so much because the body only heals in a fluid environment, and during the healing phase, the skin around the bones, called the periosteum, stretches out when the healing fluid passes through. And this pain can be excruciating, especially when people have bone cancer as a secondary cancer to their original cancer diagnosis. And the pain accentuates at night due to vagatonia. If someone feels abandoned and is running the syndrome or kidney collecting tubules, the severity increases. A particular doctor that we know had lumbar and thoracic sarcoma. It is in the healing phase, but because the conflict activity of self-devaluation went on for 2 years, it is only appropriate that the sarcoma was that big. It is normal that it is painful, but it is temporary. So with the bones, often when we look at the bones, we look at self-devaluation or low self-esteem conflicts, which we all have. It really exists in all of nature. Why? Because when we look at a slumped being, we would often look at them as low, the tail is between the legs, they are less than, they feel small, as compared to somebody or an animal that is quite upright and they're confident, they're strong, they have high self-esteem. And the bones respond to the psyche perception of, I'm not smart enough, I am not supported, I'm not who I say I am, I can't keep up, I can't fight, I'm not good enough, I don't perform well, I'm no longer fast. And that's the reason also why a lot of elderly have a lot of bone issues, because often they have these narratives running in their psyche that I'm no longer as young as before, I'm not as pretty as before, I'm not as fast anymore, I can't play badminton or basketball the way I used to. And it often lands in the bones. They're the ones that step up to the plate. So here's what I'm proposing. When we know the psyche perception of potential conflicts triggered by a life situation, that is, of course, perceived distressful, and we reverse engineer the brain signaling the known organs and preempt it as much as you can. To a certain extent, this happens beneath our awareness, but with enough presence of mind, we might be able to downgrade the biological program so that it doesn't have to go to the advanced stages, right? Controlling your biology so it doesn't control you. For me, Germanic healing knowledge, or Germanische Heilkunde, is the ultimate biohack there is. When you use the psyche as your key to immunity, there is no need to spend $1 gazillion on research and finding a cure and all these immunization programs. There's no need for expensive toxic injections, no need for expensive medication and supplements, no need for biohacking gadgets, though they are a bonus, no need to buy organic food because food does not cause cancer, but it can support a healing phase. So what I'm proposing is that we can spend dollars where it really matters and build health institutions that practice this health paradigm so we can finally put the power in the hands of the people. My wish is to see Dr. Hammer's legacy become a global reality. He wanted nothing but to give humanity the right to their freedom. And this knowledge belongs to everybody. We are blessed to be alive at this time because we are at a turning point in history where humans will own and control their own biology because we finally know what our brains are thinking. And I'd like you to dream of a future once thought impossible that is now becoming a reality. Join me as we embark on this adventure to change the course of our future, our children's children, with this empowering knowledge. Thank you so much for attending this talk. Please stay tuned for more talks under Germanische Heilkunde and biohacking. In the meantime, please join my groups on Facebook, Biohacking Philippines and Biohacking plus GHK Philippines. You can reach me through these IG handles, Coach Eli Abela and Biohacking Pioneer PH, and on Facebook as Eli Abela, Coach Eli Abela and Biohacking Pioneer PH. Thank you so much, and I hope this has helped open your mind.